Today's Palm Sunday, and Palm Sunday is also referred to as Passion Sunday because we have the Passion reading. And the last 2 weeks before Easter, we're called to meditate more fully on the passion and death of our Lord, as well as his resurrection, of course, which we look forward to. It's interesting, we had the gospel reading at the beginning of the Mass, and it mentioned how when our Lord rode into Jerusalem on the colt of a donkey, how the crowds were so enthusiastic, so happy to be present on this occasion. And what people don't realize is that in the Jewish mind, they understood that the Messiah, one of the prophecies for the Messiah was that he would enter Jerusalem riding on an ass, riding on a donkey, which is what our Lord did. So people had heard about Jesus. Some of them had listened to him or witnessed his miracles. And even those who hadn't, they knew something about him. And so everybody was just caught up in the excitement, and they were taking off their coats and putting it down on the ground, kind of like laying the red carpet for our Lord as he entered into Jerusalem. And they considered that a great honor. But what's interesting and sad is just a few days later, many of those same people would be calling for the crucifixion of our Lord. And in fact, as we heard in the gospel reading, the lengthier gospel reading, even St. Peter denied our Lord. He said he would lay down his life for him. He denied him 3 times. All the apostles, except for one, fled. Why? Why were they so enthusiastic on one hand, and on the other hand, they're denying our Lord? It's interesting how the crowd mentality can affect us. So initially the people are very enthusiastic and people just join in. They go with the flow. And then when everybody turns again against Christ and calls for his crucifixion, once again, they just go with the flow. And there's a very important lesson here for us. We also tend to go with the flow. You know, we come to church, and while we're in church, we're well-behaved, we're polite, we're prayerful, we're devout, which is good. But then during the rest of the week, some people, they get angry. They say nasty things. They swear. They tell bad jokes. In many ways, they go with the flow. And there are some people who perhaps even commit mortal sin. And they think, oh, well, it's okay. Everybody's doing it. I'm just going with the flow. The government has said it's okay. The media promotes it. So it must be okay. In other words, they're just going with the flow. And what's interesting is that whether we realize it or not, when we go with the flow and when we commit sin, especially when we commit mortal sin, we're really saying, you know what, God, we don't want your commandments. We want to be free to do what we want to do. We want to be our own God. We don't want you to be our God. In fact, we want you out of our life. We want you dead. In other words, it's almost as if we ourselves are saying, crucify him. It's worthwhile for us to reflect on this. We are all influenced by the people around us, the things we see, the things we hear, especially the media. To what extent are we influenced by our peers or the media? Are we willing to face opposition? Are we willing to stand up for what we truly believe, even though the crowds may be against us or may have a different viewpoint than we do?